All right, we live.
All right. So I'm gonna actually post a comment for anybody watching. I'm gonna say if you want to hop on for a mini reading picked at random, click this link and we will be picking people for mini reading. So if I post a comment here, it's going to show up in all the platforms.
It should, uh, but just check your live and make sure it's on there
Okay.
because your live is key. Because I know it's under like our name,
Okay.
and not sure if it's. I'm not sure because if it's going to only do like the don't get tricked stuff, or if it's going to do like each individual profile. Because last week I seen that like Star had some comments, but she left it under my page and I never seen it until
Gotcha. Yeah,
after.
so Brandy just said hi on my page. I'm going to open up my page just
Yeah,
so that I can see
op-
everything.
open up your page so you and then post that comment on your page too, so they could do that. And you got to be able to basically look at both.
Okay. So, hi everybody who's joining. Just quickly, I'm going to post the link in the comments. If you want to join for a free mini reading that we'll pick at random, click that link and then you'll just be in the back waiting and we'll pick people at random for mini readings. So just give me a second. If you want to hop on for a mini reading picked at random, click this link and we will be picking people for mini readings. Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the slow start. I'm Vicki, and I'm joining Lee on this live.
What's up? What's up? It's your boy, Big Lee of the Don't Get Tricked podcast, and I'm happy to join you, Vicky. And I'm actually looking forward to this. To me, it's going to be a real, conversation and getting my reaction, you know, and a couple of our friends' reactions too, because when he told us, I had to go back like, yo, so and so said she's this. Like
Yeah.
what? So
Yeah. So, yeah, we decided we were going to do this because I announced that I'm psychic. I don't remember when, it was some months ago. And in passing, Lee made certain comments, and I was just like, those are really interesting comments. Like, I would love to do like a whole video on that. So we decided that we were going to hop on today and talk about certain things. And I think they're going to be really interesting things, like talking about scammers, psychics who are scammers, or why they seem like scammers, and maybe even what happened with me. I don't know. Anything that comes up. Like, what was your reaction when you first found out that I'm psychic?
well, psychics, I only know it from like TV.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of a psychic, I'm thinking of like, okay, this person got a crystal ball. She dressed like a certain way, where you got to go, you go in, and that's what I think. So when you say, oh, I'm a psychic, I'm like, boom, let me hit Scuba Ike up, tell her like, yo, we gotta be supportive. But I think Vicky might be going crazy. Uh,
Did you really do that?
yeah, well, maybe not those exact words, but
Oh my god.
it's one of those like I'm always be supportive, but I don't understand. I don't know what it is, so I'm like, shoot, maybe we can hit her up, and the lottery is supposed to be 5 million. You know, I'm thinking psychics you can see in the future. I might sound ignorant out there, but please don't judge me on this. I don't really do research. Don't really know too many people that are a psychic. And but yeah, that's what I hit them both up and be like, yo, Vicky said she is psychic. I don't know how to break it to her, but she going crazy. You think we should have her committed?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know what? One thing I gotta say for you, which is like one of the best things about our friendship, is that no matter what, you're always supportive of me, and that means so much to me. Um, so that is awesome. Anybody who's logging on right now, watching this Facebook Live or this YouTube Live, there's a link in the comments, and if you want a free mini reading, either try to go in that link, join in, and we'll pick people at random. Or if you just want to comment, right? If you can't go into the link, just comment and we'll pick people at random and do mini readings. So I gotta say, I had no idea that you reached out to them and did that. And I also gotta say, I actually was really scared when I announced the whole psychic thing because, my whole thought process was the same with psychics. It's like skepticism, and it's just like, I don't know. Like, I went to a psychic one time, and like the whole time I was there, I was like, I'm going to be as stoic as possible. I'm not going to make any facial expressions. I want her to have nothing to read off of me, And so
Yeah.
that was kind of my mentality. So when the whole psychic thing happened with me, I was like, what, I literally did not know what happened what's happening with me. I was like, why, like, what's happening with me? Like, it started with my hands moving on their own. Like, I would rest them and they started moving on their own. And I was just like, is something taking over my body? Like, what's happening? Like, I'm freaking out here. And
Yeah, and
also,
like I said, I only know it based off movies. It's like I said, you go in like, oh yeah, let me go see this psychic. They're gonna read my palm, and then I'm like, dang, I don't want Vicky to be reading my palm, or she might tell me something bad. A lot of people probably more scared to go do it because they think of the bad that might happen. Like, oh shoot, look, if you see this line right here,
yeah.
just don't drive your car down Third Street, because it ain't gonna end well. Like, oh, you can tell when now I can't go down Third Street for the light.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say, I know nothing about palm reading. I know nothing.
So
So
you
I
ain't no
can't.
good then.
No, I'm no good. But you know what? Actually, we're gonna put this to the test. We're gonna invite somebody on, and let's see if we can have Lynn on. Lynn, are you there? Hi, Lynn. Okay, so
What's up, Len?
I'm gonna do a mini reading of you, and let's see what comes up. All right. First off, I'm gonna give a disclaimer that my readings are kind of very they go into the subconscious. So a lot of psychic readings, they go up in like the part where you like the shallow areas. I go a little bit deeper, or probably a lot deeper, past the ego. So we'll see what's coming up for you. Okay, so the first thing they want me to share is just how this goes about so you guys can understand. For me to do this, I empty myself. I empty my ego, like myself, and I open up my heart so then I can feel what's coming up for the highest and greatest good of all. So that's what I'm getting led to share. So the thing that's coming up for Lynn is something along the lines of like, it's like pain in it's some sort of pain in your heart. Like it's almost like a burning type of pain. It's like, how do you want me to describe this? Yeah, I just get the sensation it's like your heart got burned at some point. It was just like a burn. That's the sensation that I get, And it feels like it has come like throughout your life, like in many different instances. It's not just one single thing that burns you. It's just like different things throughout your life. Like somebody would maybe act in a certain way that hurt you or something like that. But it was just like, it just keeps burning. So there's just like this old burn that it just keeps burning is the sensation that I get with yourself, which makes it difficult because I'm getting the sensation that you're trying to do your best to be kind and gentle and do the things that like make you feel fulfilled and alive and whatever, but it's hard for you to do and it's hard for you to interact fully because there's this burn. That's the sensation that I'm getting. I don't know why it just keeps coming up as a burn. Anything else? Okay. What I'm getting else around that is Okay, so I also get the sensation like there's like you have this drive within you, like you want to do something fulfilling. You want to do something that feels good. You want to fill up this empty, not this empty space. You want to like do something that makes you feel like, yes, like this is my passion, this is what I'm meant to do, something like that. But it doesn't feel like you've quite hit it yet. It doesn't feel like there's like this is what I'm meant to do, or this is what fulfills me, or this is what gives me passion. Like there hasn't been really this ultimate like clicking that I'm getting. It's like you feel things maybe like a little bit of enjoyment or maybe a lot of enjoyment, but there's nothing that's absolutely like, this is what I'm on this earth to do. This is what, I can do 24/7, like that type of feeling. So I'm getting that that's what's going on with you. And it feels like it's related to the burning in your heart, like because of the previous pains, it's making it hard for your heart to kind of speak fully to you and tell you what it is that's fulfilling for you. Does any of that resonate? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, his speaker isn't even attached. Okay. He's gonna try to reconnect himself.
And then I got a couple of questions based on that.
Back.
Sorry,
hold on.
My camera. You guys can hear me now.
Yeah.
I've had to unplug it and plug it back in. I do think so. At least with like, I guess it's interesting to hear that it feels and it comes up as kind of like a burn. I think more recently, leading into my own journey of trying to find that fulfillment, trying to find myself with how I want to be healed or how I want to improve or balance myself. I guess now, like understanding that it feels like a burden, I'm trying to figure out how can I heal that and cool it so that I can start to open myself up into, more fulfillment. And I think that's very true. I think within the past, I don't know, probably 5-6 years of before my corporate life and kind of going through the whole safe route of, buying for myself and everything like that, but ultimately not really finding and believing in like my intuition or that this was really going to bring me happiness or joy in this life, So I do think a lot of it resonates, but still just kind of brings on like a lot of bigger questions for myself.
Yeah, like how do I go about this?
Right. But at the same time, like I am doing a lot of different things right now to try to, again, work on that healing process, really uncover and figure out, what was it or how do I overcome these burns? And then how do I really lean into and follow my intuition to do that stuff? Like right now I'm trying to get yoga teacher certified. And then what my next step is as far as like career or passion.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Are you open for me tuning in to see if there's any recommendations around that healing?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Close my eyes to kind of just listen and feel a little bit more.
Okay, so I'm getting 2 things that are coming up right away that would be helpful for you to get started, because it feels like it'll get you started on the journey, and then you'll have to discover other things that you need to learn along the way. So the first thing that I'm getting is the reason why they're telling me that it comes as a burn is because when we get burned, we get afraid to get burned again. So that's why they wanted to describe it that way. It's like when you learn to put your finger on the hot stove, and then that's when you learn, stay away from the hot stove. That was bad. So that's the energy that's coming around you there. So explore where there are certain instances in your lifetime where you learned like not to do something the hard way, right? Where you did something and then you realize, oh, like I can't trust people like this, or I can't do this, or this might happen. So exploring where the fears come in because of a previous like burn, that's the thing that I'm getting. And once you explore those fears, right, then you can ask yourself, how can I stay with my heart and trust that my heart will lead me in the right direction and that I don't need to be afraid. So that's shadow work that you'll have to explore. And the second thing that I'm getting around this burn, let me just see what that is, or working through that burn. Something else? Okay. Okay. So what I'm getting is also as you explore the fears, right, and then you let go of whatever the fear is trying to protect and allow it to just stay as part of your value system and in the place that you value, and then you can come from your heart with it. What you're going to want to do is also is that similar? Okay. You're going to want to open your heart. So it's going to be like an active, like you explore the fear, you let go of the fear, and then you want to, like, while in that process, feel into your heart and actually, like, ask your heart what it needs. Ask your heart what it needs to receive, what it needs to tell you, what it needs to show you. Just be receptive and open to hearing it. So that's the second thing that I'm getting around that. But those are very generalized things. And the reason why I'm getting it's generalized is because you're going to find as you go along on this path, and this becomes like a major theme for you, it's going to lead you into specific tools or specific lessons that you're going to learn that's going to help you find out what it is that's going to get you fulfilled that you're going to need.
Very cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Thank you. I'm glad I can help you.
Yes.
All right. So, Lee, what was your take on what happened there?
So based on that, a couple of things. First, if I was watching this, I would want to know, do you know Lynn personally?
No.
So
I mean,
because
okay, hold on, let me say this. I don't know him personally, but it's very possible we might have met like at an event or something a long time ago. I honestly, I'm sorry, Lynn, I don't recognize your face. So if we did meet, I'm sorry, I forgot. But I don't remember. So
yeah, I
maybe
mean,
you met.
because you could be spot on because you didn't get no info from him, like, hey, what he might want to do, what's besides his name, did you know pretty much anything really about him?
No, and here's the other thing. I actually can do readings of people without their names and without their faces. And I know that seems really weird and crazy, but I've done it before. I've done these things where I would get led to post on Facebook in a random like Facebook group offering free readings, and the person will comment me, and I'll just be like, okay, and then I just tune in, I give them information without going into their Facebook profile or anything. I've had people also, they're like, they ask me, about other people, right? They don't. How do I explain this? As I started exploring my gifts and how to get stronger, I guess, or how to hone my gifts more, it became less of, I used to need to see people in person, right? Because I needed to feel their energy in person and like help them in person. But then as I got like a better grip on my gifts, it kind of became, I didn't need my senses anymore. I didn't need to see them. I didn't need to hear them. I didn't need their name. I didn't need any of that stuff because I started feeling into their energy, and I was able to feel into not their energy, but I feel into the energy of like, I don't know, source or whatever that people want to call the universe or God. I feel into that. And then I'm like, okay, what is it that I'm supposed to say about this person or to this person when I connect with the energy that we all are. And so, no, I don't need, I can do blind readings.
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, if I'm somebody that's watching this and I'm seeing you reading, and you could have like I seen it on different social medias before, like even long time ago, where it's like, oh man, oh yeah, you're talking. Oh, how did you know this? In terms of I never told nobody this, but then you feel like, well, that could be staged. That could be somebody that came, an actor or whatever, but to get more people to come in and give them money. Where we get to the whole thing we were talking about, like, oh, can this be a scammer type thing,
And it can be staged. Like it can be a scam. And I'm not saying that, all psychics are real or valid. I'm not saying that, right? Because it can be. there are people who definitely take advantage of people, and they do that. And I think that that's why, like, I'm led to focus the way that I work into such a precise, like, surgical degree of how I do it. And it's mainly toward helping people develop their own intuition, their own, like, sixth sense, their own abilities, because I fully believe that we have the authority, and we need to find that authority again to know who to trust and what to trust and what to hear and what to do. But we never got taught that growing up. They teach us to listen to other authority figures. So then you have these people who are scammers who come in, but because we don't have our own gut instincts like set up or whatever, a lot of people get fooled into believing things because certain scammers are saying things that they want, that they know that the people want to believe, you know? And so that definitely is true. And I would say if anybody's trying to decide on who to trust, they really need to do a few things. If either you can ask really probing questions to that psychic, like ask every question that you want to think of, and like see how that psychic responds to like questions like, what do you connect with? How do you know that you're connecting with with that? How do your gifts show up? Like, just ask them questions about how they work and what they do, about their services, and then just keep asking until like you feel either, and only go with them if you feel good, right? If you feel like there's some warning flags, like some signals, like your body's just trying to say like, I'm not sure about this person, don't fight against it. That's what I say. And the second thing I say is just like, if you're really not sure too, I mean, the thing that I tell a lot of people is that just allow yourself to explore any fears that come up, put those fears aside, and then just sit with yourself and visualize yourself having a reading by that person. And if your body lights up, then your body's trying to tell you something. But if your body's kind of like, ugh, then your body's also trying something, because your energy can sense it.
Yeah. Now, there's different levels to like being a psychic, because you said you can't read, palms. So there's other people that can read palms. That's just like a different aspect of it. Because when we was talking the other day, when I told you, my cousin does is it the tarot cards, and then I'm thinking, oh, that's a psychic too. And he's like, no, they do this, and they do the readings, something they learn and they study up on that to do that. When I'm like, I thought I was good. I'm like, man, I know two psychics. I'm about to be good out here with these lottery or these basketball game picks that they're gonna help me with, and then crush my dreams. Now I only know one.
Yeah. Before I answer that, can you hear me well? Because I can see the screens being a little off.
Is it freezing? Yeah, I hear you well.
Okay, cool.
Did you hear?
Let me know.
Did you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. Let me know if I end up not being heard very clearly. Okay, so that's a really good question. I will admit that I'm not the know-all, be-all, end-all of psychicism, right? Like, this didn't happen because I studied it. I'm a lawyer, right? Like, I started out being a lawyer from New York. So this didn't happen because I was trying for anything. It happened in spite of. So I will say that I will admit I'm not the know-it-all for all this stuff. It also is not something that, like, I'm not into. Like, I used to be into the spiritual stuff, but I'm not so into it that it's like immersed and I study up on like the fifth dimension and like downloading codes into my system, or the Sophia code, or all these things that people talk about. It goes over my head. So I'm going to give that disclaimer. So palm reading, I know nothing about. I don't know how that works. I don't know how to read somebody's palm. I don't know anything about that. With tarot cards, my understanding of it is that you get trained and you study how to read the cards, and there are certain configurations. So you shuffle the cards, and they teach you, you know, what configuration to place the cards in, and then what the cards mean if you if that happens. And then they teach you how to read the cards, right? So tarot card reading is a tool that can be used, and people do use that. So that is one form that people can get intuitive understandings and help. Reiki is also another tool. It's like an energy work, but it's also a tool for people to be able to use to get certain information and to get help and healing and whatnot. And the main difference that I will say that I know is that a tarot card is not a psychic. They are apples to oranges. They are not the same. To be a psychic, and here's my thing, like you don't, some people nowadays, they have schools for psychics, and I don't really quite understand that concept because the psychic thing occurs for people not because they sought out to be a psychic. Like every psychic that I know, that I trust, they never became a psychic on purpose. They never sought out to be a psychic. But you can become a tarot card reader on purpose, right? You can study tarot cards, you can do that. And so with the psychic thing, and I'm not going to say this across the board, but from every psychic that I know personally, they came into it because of some sort of surrendering and letting go of their ego that had to get involved. Not all of it, but there was some part that was involved in it, right? I have no idea if Jesus was a psychic. Somebody just asked, was Jesus a psychic? And I don't know. And if I could probably tune in to get that answer. Yeah, I can tune in to get that answer. And the answer that I'm getting is that it is not for me to know right now and not for me to share right now. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to answer that. And the reason why, we don't want to get into our egos, right? So that was really perfect timing. So with the tarot card readers, right, it's like there is an element of ego because you're trying to achieve something, right? There's some sort of element of that. A lot of people, like one friend that I know, she became a psychic because her psychic gifts kind of were with her whole life, but she suppressed them because she was afraid of them. And then she had a near-death experience, and in that near-death experience, her car got like completely crushed, and she felt this like, oh, I can make a choice now. I can either choose to accept my gifts as they are, or I can just choose to accept this death that's happening. So she chose her gifts, and she came out of the car, and everything in the car was crushed except for the little pocket where she was sitting in the driver's seat, which is incredible. But so with the psychic, though, the tool that we have to use for our information, our messages, is us. It's literally just us. So we can't rely on cards to help us out interpreting the cards. We can't rely on any other tools that like Reiki. They do I think they're called sigils, but they rely on like this exchange of energy through these teachings that they are trained under. We don't rely on that. We have to basically just ask the universe and just try to like figure it out on our own most of the time, and how to like open ourselves up. And so if me, right, if I don't keep up my vessel, if I don't train and listen to the universe like every single minute and second of every single day, and follow the guidance that I'm getting, and try to like learn what the universe is trying to teach me and figure it out. And if I don't do that properly, then it shows up in my sessions with people. It shows up in my interactions in life. It shows up. Like I can't give psychic readings properly. It'll stop, right? And I've had moments where I'm not supposed to give someone a reading, and then I try to feel into it, and I just get myself. I just get my ego trying to fill in the blank with stuff.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play, while we're on this, devil's advocate, and like, your friend that suppressed her psychic abilities, for all them years, to me it sounded like, she got superpowers and she was afraid of it. I watch a lot of DC comics and stuff like that. So, she's an inhuman or something like that. And she was suppressing it, but an ignorant person, like I said, just like, oh, psychic. Well, she should have known she was going to get an accident and then she went down that way, right?
Oh,
These are things that, like people would believe that, oh, they could see in the future. And then, also I wanted to get at, where do you think that feeling come from? Like when you was just on with Lynn, like where's that feeling just coming from? Like, do because is it a higher power giving it to you? Is it God that's, delivering this to you, to deliver to them? And then when you first felt it, was it scary?
geez. Okay, this is all
I
good.
know it was a lot to unpack right there, but it was like, like I said, it's one. I'm here to learn. I learned, a little more,
Yeah.
than I'm not, as oblivious, to when now that you done told me a while ago, and like I said, I tuned into some of your stuff before, and
Yeah.
I think you're legit. Some people might think otherwise, but like I said, these it's questions that I will come up with if I'm watching this. Like, yo, where's this coming from? Like, so.
Okay. All right. So let's start with the superpowers stuff, right? And like, shouldn't she have been able to, foresee that, right? Um, I can only talk about my own point of view and my own understanding of the world, which is very limited, right? Because I'm not all knowing, all powerful, and whatever. What I know is that we only have a certain extent of what we can feel. Um, and so being psychic does not mean that you all of a sudden have access to all the information that you can have access to. So I'm not going to be able to get you your lottery numbers.
Ah, you're killing me here. Hey,
uh,
honey, we still broke.
so what happens though is that the more that we work on ourselves and allow ourselves to be of service in the proper way, the more that opens up to us. So the more that I've been working on myself, the more I've learned about like life in the universe and like the history of the earth and all sorts of like crazy things that I would not have known otherwise. But I allow myself to only receive the information or the knowledge or the visions, because I do get visions, that's in the highest and greatest good of all for me to receive. Because I don't want to put my ego in there. I don't want to be like, well, I want to know if I'm, so that's how it works. So as a psychic, if she's not supposed to know that she was going to get into an accident, then she's not going to know. And that was why, because she needed to make a decision. Okay, now that this has happened, what is the choice that I'm supposed to make right now? Right? Because that was a big life event, a big life changing lesson for her. So sometimes we're not supposed to know things because there are lessons. Sometimes we're not supposed to know things just because it's our ego coming in, like all sorts of different reasons. But just because you're a psychic doesn't mean that you can just tune in and know everything. There's limitations to that. And that also goes into why some people think some psychics are scammers, because some psychics don't do that work. And so the information that they get is tied in with the ego of their own selves. And the messages, by the time they come out, it gets mixed. And so by the time it reaches the person, it's not the message that was originally the person was supposed to receive. Instead, the psychic received it, and then they like maybe edited the information without realizing it, or their ego came in the way. And then by the time it came out, it was only like, I don't know, 70% or 50% or whatever correct. So for example, a psychic once told me that I was supposed to be an international lawyer, helping people in Vietnam, immigrate to America. And I think that maybe, like, this is like years ago, I think that maybe what she actually got was that I was supposed to help people get from one space or place to a completely different place in the other end of do a complete 180 in their lives. And that was how I was supposed to help them. I was supposed to be that bridge to help them. But she interpreted it and thought, immigration lawyer helping, because Vietnam's on the other side of the globe. It's literally a 12-hour time zone difference. So I think that she interpreted it. But, I don't know. What was the next thing that you said after that? I don't remember.
Was it the where do you think the feelings come from?
Oh yeah, where do the feelings come from? Okay, how do I best describe this? Oh yeah, and your third. Okay, so the third question was, did it freak me out? So I'm getting to actually answer that question.
Was it scary at first when you when you first started feeling it?
I'm gonna answer that question first.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yes, it was scary.
Change my order.
Yeah, I will change your order because I want to do what I want. It was scary. I there's no way about it. I was freaked out. I had to ask people that I trusted to help me understand what was going on, who were more connected spiritually, because I wasn't connected. So I was just like, why are my hands moving? Like, what is happening with me? Like, I don't understand what's going on. And what ended up happening was two women in my life were there, and they were both named Sherry, actually. And they connected and they held the space. They were like the bridge between the physical world and the spiritual world. And they started telling me what was happening with me, like when they were connecting. And the thing is, when one of them, when she was like, when the words were coming out of her mouth and she was explaining it, I felt the truth of it, like deep inside of me. I was like, it just clicked. And I was like, yes, that is, like, I can feel the truth of it. And one of the things that she said was that she could feel so much love coming for me, through me, from the ancient spirits or whatever who are doing this ritual. And she was like, I just feel so much love. There's so much love coming for you. And when she said that, I started literally feeling the love, right? And that was how I stopped being scared, because how can something scary fill me up with this amount of love? I was filled with so much love that the thought that went through my mind was, how is my body able to what is my body gonna, my body can't hold this much love. Like, how do I handle this much love? Because I actually was just like, I feel like I'm gonna explode with the amount of love that I was feeling. And so when it finally came out, it came out in the form of crying, and then it turned into laughter, and then back to crying, and then laughter, because those are the two emotions. Like, when someone's so happy, they sometimes can cry, but that was what happened with me. I was just like overwhelmed with love that it came out of my body finally, and it released in laughter and then tears and then laughter and then tears. So it was scary at first, and then it stopped being scary. But then the work started in the weeks, days, months to come, where I had to explore this and figure out what was happening with me. And that became scary because I didn't know where to look, who to talk to, who could help me, what was happening, because my body started going through a lot of physical changes. Like, I have photos of how much, like, what happened to my skin. Like, it was really bad. And it was like a big detox. And so it was scary. So having that said, in that process of trying to figure out what was going on with me is where I learned how to feel into what I was supposed to feel into and do what I was supposed to do. So with that, I would say for me, I can't say for everybody, for me personally, how I experience it is I just kind of allow my entire being to open up and surrender to, God or the universe or source, whatever you want to call it, starting from my heart. So I connect with my heart, and I allow my heart to be the one that kind of opens itself up. And I allow my mind to kind of just sit in the background and just be the thing that observes what comes through. And so I just sit and I allow my thoughts to slow down. And then I just allow myself to receive with an open heart. And it comes through in many ways. Sometimes I get actual physical sensations, like my muscles will spasm or something. Sometimes I see like an image inside my mind. Sometimes I just get this thought or this understanding, which kind of feels like, if you ever have like one of those revelation moments where like, oh my gosh, like I get it now, right? That's the same type of feeling that it comes through as. Is there a difference between present organized religion and the spiritual world that psychics receive their gifts from? I really like that question. Thank you.
You're so kind. Thank you.
I just, you know why I really like that question is because there's so much division that goes on in this world, and there's so many different ways that everyone tries to divide and find ways to divide. And the truth is that we're all human, and that we're all coming from the same space, and that we're all living in the same space. We're living on this earth, and we're all together, and we're all one, and like that's the whole point of humanity. And so the spiritual world that psychics receive their gifts from, the answer is it depends. If a psychic is really trying to come from their heart, like I try to, and be of service and really just surrender themselves to like the all knowing, the all being of the all that is, then no, there's no difference, because the present organized religion is like the way that it originated. People were trying to make sense of it. Obviously, over the course of centuries, things have been twisted and changed to meet certain agendas. But if you go to like the original way that they tried to make sense of it, it's still the same thing. We're all connecting with the energy of God or all or whatever that is coming from our hearts, that we just feel deep inside of us that there's something in this universe that that adds to the science and adds to the creation of this world. Like there's a reason why Mother Nature works the way that it does, and there's something that causes plants to thrive and other plants not to. Like and for the way that everything is, there's something in there. So in that sense, they're the same, because if they come from the heart with it, right? Because we all come from the heart, then we're all together. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, there are psychics who operate more from their ego than from their heart, whether or not they realize it, right? Like there might be some psychics who are like, I want to be the one who is who's prophetic, right? The one who's the prophet and can channel all of this information. And I want people to know that, right? Then that's coming from ego, or someone else who's just, it depends, right? But in that case, if it comes from the ego instead of the heart, then there is a difference, because I don't know what they're connecting with, because you have to connect from the truest space in your heart if you want to connect with the all that really thrives, that causes humans to thrive. But some psychics, they maybe tune into different things that may not be in perfect alignment for themselves, and it's going to show up in some form or fashion. But that's different. Whatever that they're connecting with, that's not me. So the answer is it depends. But if it comes from the heart, then it's all the same place in the end.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Some people on my Facebook, I just want to say, Karen. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Karen said, surrender has such a big meaning and purpose to me right now. Yes, I think it's huge for everyone. Marissa said, if you're not born a psychic, you won't be able to tune into psychic abilities, or did I misinterpret? Yeah, we all have psychic abilities. So there was maybe I miscommunicated, or there's a misinterpretation. I'm not sure. But I mean, I don't think I was born a psychic, but the thing is, we all have some sort of intuitive or psychic abilities that we are connected to. That's why sometimes like we get like a bad feeling about somebody, or we get like we click with certain people right away. We just know that we click with certain people right away. Or like we connect with like the right person at the right time, or all sorts of things like that. But I believe that we are all psychic. But the thing is, we have to unlearn the things that took us away from being psychic. So it looks like Lee is having some trouble with his connection right now.
No, because
Oh, you're there?
yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, no, I'm on my phone, so I wanted to go check my Facebook for like some comments and stuff too. Obviously, Ike is in there. He's disappointed. He can't get the winning lotto numbers either. But he says he's still we're all there for you, even if you're crazy.
Thanks, Ike.
Well, she can tell you some bad karma gonna come out of this. LOL. Yeah. And then Show, he said, were you scared when you knew you were possessed with these gifts? I think we answered that. Paris said, how can a person tell if they have psychic abilities?
Ooh.
And hey, just want to say welcome to the people. I'm on my phone, so I can't see the comments that's on my page unless I go out. And then once I go out, I end up losing like my audio, so I got to click out and re-enter back in and stuff like that. But just want to say, hey, welcome to everyone that's joining. I'm here with Vicki, my psychic friend, and we getting my initial reactions and just some questions out on being a psychic, and it's been informative. So
I am going to actually. Do you want me to answer that? You want me to say something else? Do you want me to do that? Either. Okay, so I'm going to do two things. I'm going to answer Paris's question, and then we're going to pick somebody at random. So thanks for the people who are sitting in the waiting room. We are going to pick you shortly for a mini reading. Paris, how do you know if you have psychic ability? So it's so funny because I was starting to answer that with Marissa's question. And when I did, she actually said, that makes more sense. Hello, and thanks for the great stream. Thanks for joining. Yes, so I was saying that we all are psychic. But what happens is that things happen to us in the course of our lives that shut our hearts down or like block us from our ability to tap into our psychic abilities. And so we have to unlearn these things. And so how do you know if you're psychic? It's a really hard, very personal and very unique thing that we have to explore, because now we have to explore the unknown and the things that like we have not got taught that we feel, but we might feel is true. What happens is that a lot of times, I'm going to say this from a general perspective, throughout our life, we get told and taught other things, to listen to other people, to trust other people, to do the things that other people tell us to do. And it takes us away from that place that we started out at when we were a child, when we were just the only person that we listened to at the time when we were a little kid was just like me and what makes me happy and what do I want to do and I want to play and I want to do this and this and this and this. And they talk about how kids say the darndest things, because sometimes children will say like some seriously like in-depth like things, right, about they'll notice about life, and then the adult will be like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that a kid just said that. Like how does my kid like know to say such a wise thing or something like that, right? Is because the kid's a lot more connected. And you notice, like for me, I lost my creativity and my imagination in my years to come, and that's related to our psychic abilities, because that's where we are the creator. That's where the creator comes from. And so how do you know if you have psychic abilities is really a deep self-exploration that I think a lot of people are trying to figure out. And that's why they go into like therapy, right? To try to like explore their mental health and try to get to a place where they can feel themselves again and be happy again. That's why other people, they turn to coaches like me to try to help them explore the intuition and trust themselves more. And actually a lot of my sessions, the things that I say to people, most of the time they're like, that validated so much of things that were going on in the back of my mind, and you don't even know me. So to have a complete stranger tell me things that I've been thinking about, the exact things that I've been thinking about, and for you to say that really validates that part of me. And so for you to know whether or not you have psychic abilities, the first thing is to just know that you do. And then the second thing is to figure out how can you explore that part of yourself that kind of has been shut away for maybe your entire life, right? Like me, it was shut away for my entire life. And so how do you explore that again? How do you allow yourself to feel again? How do you allow yourself to be happy again? How do you allow yourself to engage into the things that are fulfilling for your heart? Those are different ways and aspects to like explore those psychic abilities, and then like sit with them and try and trust yourself. It's all about trusting yourself, right? And then if you turn out to be wrong, explore like what part went wrong, and then what part can you trust in yourself. And that's a whole thing for us to figure out. And that's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do. Okay, we're gonna pick somebody. So we are gonna pick
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Catch a tiger by the toe. Okay. Artemis. We have Artemis on the show.
Is Artemis there? Artemis, what's going on?
Hi, surprise, it's me.
Hi, I don't know who. Oh, hey, Marissa. Okay. So I do happen to know this person. She has worked with me in sessions multiple times. So I'm gonna make that as a disclaimer. Actually, so what I'm gonna ask is for you to share what it was like when you first started working with me, or when you first got introduced to me as an intuitive person.
Well, I want to share that sometimes we kind of have brain fog with ourselves. And let's say sometimes I get stuck in brain fog, and working with you helps me get out of that brain fog and into clarity.
Oh, cool. Thank you. And because I remember when we first, like when you decided you were going to work with me, you said something about my energy. It felt light. Can you describe that? Like what made you decide to like just, go ahead and just work with me?
Oh, yes, that makes me think of, so I feel like I've connected with multiple, I kind of say mental coaches. I mean, I know it's psychics, intuition and stuff, but it's all, on the mental. And one of the reason why I stuck with you, honestly, because I've connected and interacted with other, let's say, psychic coaches or coaching coaches, and automatically the ego came up. And that's not really something I felt with you. It just felt like a judgment-free space, and kind of like a warm hug around you, but energetically, it's just a really nice space to work in.
Oh, thank you. All right, so let's do a mini reading for you. I really appreciate you sharing that. I really appreciate you hopping on. And I appreciate you working with me all this time. So, and I appreciate you trusting me. I think that I honor and I appreciate so much everybody who decides to work with me. It means so much to me. So I appreciate all that you've done. So what am I getting for you? Let's see what comes up for you. Okay, so there's still this sensation where it's almost like you lean back into your mind as a crutch a lot, even though you're trying to go with your intuition, but it's like you slip back into your mind without realizing it. And that seems to be one of the biggest struggles for you, is like how to recognize that you've gone back into here and out of here. That's the thing that it feels like is like the biggest theme. It also feels like it's going to be the biggest theme for you this entire year, for you to explore that. And it's for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but it feels like it's for a reason. So it's almost like I'm getting like led to just have you just give you a little nudge so you can start exploring that direction of why you go up in here instead of here. And the nudge that I'm going to share with you is, go back to when you were 7 years old and explore who you were when you were 7, what happened when you were 7, what may have occurred to you around that age and beyond that kind of shifted things, and how you were before the age of 7, if you remember. And if you don't remember, that's also something to explore, because you should have memories before 7. So you might have blocked something out. I don't know. But the age of 7 feels like it'll give you the answers. And if nothing comes up consciously, allow yourself to sit with it, because something is like, sit with your body and ask your body to remind you of what happened at 7, because your body's going to hold the memories inside the nervous system.
Oh, thank you. I'll definitely do that.
Okay, cool. And there's one more thing that I want to share with you. Let me just see what that is. And another age. Okay. So 7 years old and 12 years old. Those are the two ages where it feels like something happened. And I get the sensation something about your dad with the 12-year-old, like some sort of, maybe like at 12, you like realize something about your dad or something. And you're like, I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. I'm going to have to take more responsibility, like whatever. It just feels like there's some sort of dad or dad energy, like that type of energy is involved at the age of 12. So
a lot of suppressed memories. So I'll definitely have to sit with that.
okay, cool. Well, I appreciate you jumping on, and I hope that you will watch the rest of the video.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for the wonderful stream, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now,
Okay.
what I would ask, right? Like, so you give a reading. Have you ever like felt like, well, maybe you don't feel like it, but they felt like, nah, this is a bad reading. Like if her reaction wasn't as calm and like, oh, well, I got maybe some suppressed memories to
Yeah,
go back, but you know,
this
just
is a
having like, bro, like you way off. Like I don't ain't nothing
this is
happened
a
at 12. My dad died at 2 or something. You know.
yeah, this is a great question. Hi Jeffrey. And I see Andrea's watching too. Okay, this is a great question because
And
this
hold on,
actually,
before you do that, people that's on my live, if you can go to either Vicky's live or the YouTube page that I sent out, and you can make comments on there because I can see it a lot easier on the
mhm.
comments, and I can post the comments on our YouTube page. So go to the YouTube page and comment on there, and we'll be able to see the comments. At least I will, because I'm on my phone right now, so I can't see
Mhm.
it.
Oh, we also have a few more comments. So I did a reading with Lynn earlier. He said, I also wanted to mention that from my training this past weekend, I had also used the quote, as children, we are taught not to play with fire, not how to play with fire, which comes from the Stephen Kotler in his book, The Rise of Superman. So that was awesome. And then he said, I found a very synchronous with the mini reading that you shared with me, Vicki. So thank you for sharing that, Lynn. Okay, so this is really awesome because this was actually a really big deal for me when I was like doing my psychic stuff, which was like, oh, like what if I get it wrong? Like what am I gonna do? Right. And so every
Yeah.
time I have a session, like I would always pepper it with, does that resonate for you? How was that for you? Like, do you have any comments or questions? Like I always did that with every session. And I always had this fear, like, oh, what if I'm all wrong? Like what if they wasted their money? So that was like huge for me. And so that was something I really had to work through. And it was interesting because everybody was like, yeah, that resonates. Yeah, that resonates. Yeah, yeah. But I had one person recently, I think 2 weeks ago, who actually for the first time said that doesn't resonate. And oh, actually, you want me to share that first? No. So a couple years back, I had someone, I said to he asked a question about his career, the direction of his career. And I got on Facebook. And a bunch of people gave recommendations on what to do with his career and how to figure out what he should do. Because that was his question, like, what do I do? Like, how do I, come up with what career I'm supposed to go with? And I got led to comment. And I said something about a dark cave and that he needs to explore something that happened to him when he was, and I gave a certain age, and it had to do with his parents. And his response was, I don't know how that's relevant, but I'll feel into it. Or I'll try to explore that. I don't know how that's relevant, but I'll explore that, right? The next day, he starts writing all over like that Facebook group and telling everybody that he knew about like this person that he's never met before, like said this comment, and it's just changed his life because he had this huge like breakthrough when he explored what happened to him at that age, and he was crying, and like the whole room that he was in at the time was crying, and like all sorts of things happened. So that was one instance where it was like what happened was the ego didn't know, but then when the heart opened up and tried to feel into it, the heart was like, this is what I needed. And so that leads into the thing that happened 2 weeks ago where I was led to say something to this woman about how her heart was really like broken and fragile and was basically pieced together, and that I was led to caution her against which therapists or healers that she went to because they might do more damage than good. And what happened was her response was like, this doesn't resonate. She's like, I feel stronger, more courageous. I feel stronger and better than ever. I am courageous. I'm a warrior. I'm not fragile. She said that twice. Like, I'm not fragile. And then she was like, the only thing that might be related is when my son goes off with his father, and then I feel lopsided. But other than that, I'm great. And so I was like, I've never experienced this before. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I had to feel into why I was given that response for you. And I could tell her easy to come up, because when you have an open heart and it's healed, your response isn't by showing me your armor and saying how strong you are and how much of a warrior you are, because that there's a difference, right? And when you can, like, being a warrior is good. But then if you're using the warrior as protecting over your heart, then your heart probably is not open. There's some sort of healing that still needs to be done. And so she started coming at me with all sorts of like things about, like, she really projected. She started projecting herself onto me. She started saying, what, do you think that you're always right? And like all sorts of things. And I'm like, no, I actually never said that at all. I repeated it multiple times. She was like, well, and then she started like putting up her credentials and talking about all sorts of stuff, which, she was trying to battle with me about something that I wasn't even battling with. And she was basically trying her very hardest to she wanted me to be wrong so bad. And so she was trying her hardest to come up with everything that she could possibly think of to, I guess, make me question myself. I think what her goal was. I'm not really sure, but that was when I learned that when we as psychics like say something, there's a very real possibility that it might trigger somebody. And so this person for sure got triggered. Otherwise she wouldn't have reacted in such a way with me and tried to argue with me, because I wasn't arguing at all, but she just kept wanting to find a reason to argue. Yeah. And so that was what happens, right? It really depends, right? If the person wants to stay in their ego and wants to stay in protective mode, then yeah, they're going to say stuff like that. But I've had people, and I've even had people who were skeptical of me, and then I would say things, and then they just dropped their egos, and they're like, that just was so on point. And it was funny because literally that a date 1 or 2 days before, someone actually went out of her way to comment on one of my posts and was like, y'all, this person is so on point. And I got to say, my ego did not want to hear what she had to say, but it was exactly what I needed to hear. And, I had to drop my ego to be able to receive it. And so it was so interesting how that happened at the same time that this happened. And so what I guess the thing is, what I say, I do get worried whether or not it'll resonate with people. And so I tell them beforehand that with my sessions, I tell them beforehand, you're the utmost authority. So whatever I say, it might lead into something, or it might be the thing on the face, right? And we got to check in with you and tell me what comes up for you when I say that. And I do that all the time in my sessions. But if you're not ready to hear and you just want to stay in your ego, then that's when we're gonna have issues, because that's not what we're here for. And so that was one time when I had someone who just was just like, you're wrong, this doesn't resonate, and I'm gonna argue with you to the death for it.
Now, another question that I would have, because you were nervous about coming out about it, and me as your friend, I'm always be supportive in all the things you want to do, leaving New York and being a lawyer, a high-powered lawyer in New York, to go to Austin, Texas, and make a living and switch careers possibly, and then get into psychic. But that don't mean everyone is that supportive, of you, which makes it nervous to come out. I know, Asian cultures is probably, look at it a different way. Your parents might look at it a different way, especially like, oh, you're a lawyer, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go from being a lawyer to a psychic. How did other friends and family take that news, and were a lot of more people receptive of it?
Oh gosh, that was a really big thing for me. That was hard. I had to tell people little by little, because I was so scared of how they would react, and like I needed space for myself in between people to try to like, you know, settle in with that. So some people I knew, like certain cousins, I was like, oh, I can tell them, like they're just gonna roll with it, right? Because they're just that way. Um, it was I was a nervous wreck when it came to telling my direct family. And that actually led into a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications. Um, and the thing is, like my parents at first, theirs came in the form of fear, because my mom said she didn't want to lose me, because she's aware that like if you connect with the wrong energy, really bad things could happen, and she was afraid that I wouldn't know, like I wouldn't know how to discern the difference, right? And it makes it extra scary as a parent, because you know that there's no widely acceptable form that would teach this, right? Like I can't enroll in a university or something that's widely acceptable, and then my mom would be like, okay, all right, so she's at the Harvard of psychic schools or something like that, right? So that was difficult. And it's like really difficult when you have to like try to tell your parents, like, I know in my heart that this is right, and I need you to trust me, because as a parent, they want to make sure like their kid is taken care of. So at first it was difficult. But after Marissa laughed at the Harvard of psychics. Yeah. So, but over time, I think that what they saw was how much better of a person I had become as a result. I became so much less angry and argumentative, and I became so much more loving and open and present. And I think just watching, it took a long time, but watching my progression and my growth, I think allowed them to ease up and trust in that. So they've been very supportive of it ever since. And I think it probably also helped that I found my soulmate in the process. So it's just like, hey, things are like working out in that way. Like, so there was that. But it was really difficult, because I thought my parents were going to be like, no, like this is some woo woo witchery stuff. And, but it wasn't that way.
Yeah. Hey, so Papi Americano asks, how does one connect to bad spirits? Is there a secret ritual, or do the spirits just show up?
That's a good question. You were asking some good questions.
And by the way, this is the same person that I told you about the text, and
Okay,
his
gotcha.
grandfather. So where he's skeptical about psychics, and so I told him to tune in, because I said I held it down for my friend. I said, nah, she legit. Tell him, Papi Americano.
Yeah. No wonder why he's asking such good questions. He's probably thought about this in many different ways. Okay. I'm going to tune into that answer. Am I able to get an answer to that? Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to share is that there are many different ways that somebody can connect to bad spirits. And the fact is that we are connecting to bad energy all the time. We just don't know it, right? And so a psychic is more like I don't know, if you think like a sponge, or they're just more like vulnerable, I guess. They're more open to that. So then it comes through a lot more strongly. But like bad energy, bad spirits, like that comes up like that comes up with us all the time. We are being affected by it all the time, right? Let's say like you become a bad person when you're with alcohol, right? That's because you're connecting with bad energy. The thing is, I don't really like referring to them as spirits, because I think that it's all energy. I think that like if you think about like God, they talk about God being in all of us, right? We're all God, we're all creator. And then just like certain elements of God comes out through each individual person, but that doesn't make the person different or not different. That doesn't make the person completely separate from another person. This is why we have certain people who come into our lives for certain reasons, or this is why certain vibes come up for certain people. Like you can feel the vibes of other people because we're feeling that energy that's coming through for us. So when it comes to the bad spirits, that's like the bad energy is how I'm going to share with it, because I don't want to talk about bad spirits like they are completely different or separate from us. They are still a part of us, and we're all experiencing the bad energy, right? Because I don't like using that judgment, but the thing that doesn't feel right. So what happens is if we have things within us that are not settled, and like we're not opening up our hearts, and we're not in the good space, we're also opening up ourselves to feeling all the things that are like not in the good space. The problem is they think about it as bad spirits when really it's trying to show us something inside of ourselves that's trying to be shown to us. So the more work that someone does in opening up their heart and healing themselves and allowing themselves to be open from a good place, the more protected they are from the bad spirits, because there's less of the shadows and the energy inside of themselves that are bad that it can't connect with. It's just not in the same space. So the way that people understand bad spirits is I guess outdated is what I want to say. Like I can go into this much deeper, but for now, I'm just going to say there's actually a different understanding to that. And I don't really like going with saying bad spirits. And then they also want me to say another thing. Let me just tune in. Not that, it's our language. You want me to say that? Yeah, it's our language. So our language and calling it bad spirits, me calling it, why are you making my throat croak? Am I saying something wrong? Okay. Sorry. So when I'm not saying the right things, they make my throat like seize up, and my throat starts getting all croaky until I say the right thing.
Thought you were schizophrenic.
No, I'm sorry. It's just this weird thing that happens with me now. Okay, not saying that like, oh, it's just so complicated. The answer is it's complicated. That's what they want me to say. It's complicated. But it really all boils down to the energy that's inside of you. So it's complicated. That's all they want me to say. It boils down to the energy that's inside of you. You come from a pure vessel. Like the purer you make your vessel, the purer the energy that comes. Ricky said, I'm just tuning in. Do you do tarot readings? I've had it done before and it was spot on. Yeah, we spoke about this in the beginning. I don't do tarot card readings. They actually are very different. Tarot card readings and psychics are like apples to oranges. I have not studied tarot cards. I have not been led to go study tarot cards. I used to pull oracle cards. Once in a while I do, but they kind of like limit me, right? From really opening up and receiving all the information that I'm supposed to receive. What else do I? Oh, hi, Marianne. Marissa, when you explained this from our mastermind Q&A, I was able to expand my perspective on this so much. Thank you. She's talking about the bad energy. Nothing is separate from us while we are interacting with it. And then, let's see. Haifa, if God forbid you see death in someone's near future, do you share that information with that person? So I did touch on like seeing the future. But I didn't really elaborate more. There's so many questions from people. Thank you. I didn't elaborate on it as much as I can. But another thing that I will say about like foretelling the future is that If a psychic claims that he or she or they can predict the future and tell the future, then they're probably not a very they're not probably not in high integrity, because there are so many factors that come into play. And so like even me with like the level of like how much I can tune in, I only rarely tell things that are like future foretelling. And what I tell more like is like the energy is most likely to lead in this direction, but it requires this. And that's tends to be like mostly what I say. But I won't say like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, because there's way too many complicated things in like quantum physics and like the whole way that the universe works for me to be able to comfortably tell somebody this. Because what if I tell you and then that leads to something completely different happening, right? So there's also that factor. So having that said, seeing death in someone's near future, that has not yet happened. And the thing is, that's not how my sessions work. I'm following whatever direction that I'm supposed to. And what I'm supposed to do is actually help people develop their own intuition, help people with their own personal breakthroughs, help people through their own blockages, and really open themselves up to being like the whole amazing, like, intuitive leaders and entrepreneurs and creators that they are. And so what I actually end up getting led to do is like saying like, this is what's showing up for you, and this is how you can, these are the next steps that you can take that are going to really help you like expand and open up. In my sessions, they're very much more specific than what Lynn's mini reading was. That was pretty broad. But in like the specific sessions, I like people write things down like, okay, do this, do this, do this, do this, and do this, and that'll help you, and then explore that and see what comes up. But my sessions don't go like, I think that in your future, or it feels like in your future, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. That's not how my sessions work. So in that instance, I won't ever, I don't think I'll ever like foresee death. The only thing that I might say is that I might get something like, hey, you got to work on your health, or you got to work on this, right? Otherwise, it might not be a good look for you, type of thing. Haifa, got you. I understand and respect that 100. What you do sounds very therapeutic. Yes. Yes, it is. I've had a lot of sessions where people have cried. I've had a lot of sessions where people, like my repeat clients, they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, my business has opened up. I've been able to hire this person. I've been able to fire this person maybe that they needed to fire. I've had more clients coming in. I've had more opportunities. My relationship with my, husband or wife is better, or with my kids is better. I can communicate better with them, like all sorts of things. Or, oh my God, like this, like I know the direction I'm supposed to go in life now. Like all sorts of things happen. The spirits that connect with you, what are they like? Looks, voice, movements. So, I have done mediumship. That was like a step I had to take to get to where I am, and I'm still taking steps, obviously.
Is that like blue belt, black, brown belt of psychics? Like, is it like
no?
karate?
It's like I'm walking. It's like I'm walking on the. No, it's like I'm walking on the yellow brick road, and on my yellow brick road, I needed to explore mediumship first. So, I don't like ranking things. Because I don't like the comparison that occurs with that anymore. So when I've done mediumship, they've shown up in many different ways. I have like seen like bits and pieces of images in my mind of what they looked like, but I'm not like, there are some mediums who are very visual. I'm not like that. They have not shown up to me like that. There have been a couple of times where they have spoken through me. So like, it's like I kind of just went in the background and they kind of just like used me and spoke through me, and like moved through me, so I would like adopt their mannerisms or whatever, but that's not really a thing that I do all that often anymore because
so is mediums like how Doctor Strange and them be doing it? I don't know if you familiar with them, when they take your body could leave, like your soul can leave your body and watch it.
He's doing astral projection.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause
Um,
I don't know what the difference between the medium and all this stuff, and
so
I'm
so
like,
mediums connect with spirits, right?
okay.
And so a lot of people turn to mediums for connecting with their loved ones who have passed on. And I've done that before. But my direction that my soul is trying to go toward, um, it's not like I tend to, most of the time when people ask to connect with loved ones, most of the time I tune in. Well, every time I tune in, and most of the time when I tune in, they're like, just direct that person to this medium that you know, because that person's supposed to do the mediumship stuff. I'm supposed to focus my attention more on helping people develop their own intuitive abilities and gifts and help them become like strong leaders and creators. So when I have connected with spirits, it just depends. Like they come in different ways. They show me images which are really cool. They've I don't know. It varies. It varies per individual, right? Because not every medium is the same. Not every psychic is the same, and it varies also for me per spirit that comes through. So
So when you give, like when you start to like talk to yourself, when you go like, hey, what are you trying to say? Are you hearing your own voice in your head and it's telling you something, or is it like just a feeling that you're feeling, and it's like, hold on,
Oh,
what you
that's an
mean?
interesting question. First, I just want to
Uh,
say, Marissa said she laughed at your blue belt comment, and she said, "I can testify for being a money magnet after your sessions." Um, what do I? So your question is like, how do I hear it? How does it sound?
Yeah, well, it pretty much goes with popular Americanos is like how it look and stuff, but it's like so you talking like because you like, oh, why are you doing this to my throat? And so like, are you hearing your own voice in your head and it's telling you through your voice, or is it a different voice, or is it just like this is a feeling like, hold on, why are you doing this? And you just speaking out.
That is a really good question. Sometimes in meditation, the voices will distinctly be like I can actually hear the timbre and the tone of the voice in like when I'm in my meditations, where I'm not with a client, like I'm just like doing my daily meditations. And sometimes I actually like physically hear something in my ear. Like it's so weird. Like it's like I'll physically hear it in my ear. But most of the time when I am working with a client, it does not come in a voice, actually. It does not come as a thought in my head per se, which is how it used to. I used to rely on that. And then the universe was just like, no, like you're not using the other things that you have to your disposal. So the way that it comes through is like I use my entire being. I use my entire body and my energy and my soul and all of my senses. Like I use my entire being. So it's almost like it comes through as like a. Is there a way you can help me describe this? Let me just tune in and see how I can describe that. Okay, so what I'm getting this sensation is almost like if you're ever in this moment where you just feel so in the flow and like in alignment, that's the sensation that I get. Is that I'll feel when it's not in alignment, and that's like I'll know when to stop. But I it's like that flow that you feel. So some people, it's like let's say you have an entertainer, and when they're on stage, they're just like so in it, right? And they don't, by the time they get off stage, they don't really remember everything that happened because they were just feeding off of the energy. They were just in pure flow. But every part of their being was like that. So that's kind of like my sessions where even though I'm talking out loud, it's just like almost like I don't know, it's just like a flow. So I don't hear a thought in my head in my sessions. I feel an understanding. I don't know. That's the best way I can explain it. It's hard. It's required years of exploring the parts of myself to get to this place, but it's not a voice in my head. It's like it's a whole entire being type of feeling.
Okay. So we just want to recap. So
Oh,
you don't got a crystal ball
Said,
at the house, right? Right.
Marissa said, imagine hearing Denzel Washington out of nowhere and that's your guide.
Man, I'd be scared if it depends on which Denzel. You getting the training day Denzel?
Yeah, I know,
You
right?
know? Hey, so you don't got no crystal balls, right? So you're not at the house with Chad and like, oh, Chad, look into my crystal ball.
I think that Chad would not stop making fun of me if I had a crystal ball.
What?
He asked, he's like, you don't have a crystal ball at home? And I said, I think Chad would make fun of me if I had a crystal ball at home endlessly. Nonstop. Yeah, he said nonstop.
Non-stop.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything like where psychics get together, like Psychic Con? You know, they got Comic Con, Psychic Con.
Oh my God, where do you come up with this stuff? Marianne said, I feel this, it's a feeling. So Psychic Con. There probably is. Like, there's so Marianne says I need a crystal ball. There probably is. Like, I know that they got all sorts of expos and like events, like things in Austin and Sedona and like Peru and all sorts of things that attract people who are really into all of the spiritual stuff. I'm just not that type of person. I thought I was, and I tried to be in that, but then I realized that's not me. So I don't like going to those things. It's just there's a lot of when I became a lawyer, and then I started working as a lawyer. A lot of other lawyers my age had this thing where they had a chip on their shoulders and they had to prove themselves, and it was really, really difficult to talk to them because everything was about proving themselves. So you tried to negotiate, they would just be like jerks because they had to prove themselves. There's a lot of that energy in this space too, where like people like psychics or spiritual people or whatever, they're trying to prove something. And so I'm feeling that a lot there too. And it makes it really hard for me to, especially when I get more sensitive, to be able to be around that. So what I've just been doing is I've just been keeping to myself and trying to figure out, okay, universe, what do you want me to do? What do I got to learn? How do I open my heart up more? How do I be more present? How do I be more loving? What's holding me back from being loving? And I'm just with me, myself, and I a lot while I'm exploring that. But I think that there are a lot of different things, but you also got to be careful about who you interact with and the type of energy that shows up. Mary Ann said, do you feel we all have psychic abilities? Oh, Marissa said it's called an ayahuasca retreat. Laugh my ass off. That's where they gather. Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of the plant medicine, shamanic stuff. Marianne, do you feel we all have psychic abilities? I did talk about this earlier in the video, so I'm just going to only touch on it briefly, but the answer is yes. And it's just, I just feel that there's a lot of things that we need to unlearn or work through or heal in order to get us to tap into those abilities a lot more. But I think it is just a simple part of being human. Just being human. Yes, we're connected to each other. We're connected. We're trying to we have a soul. That's what I feel. So many people with questions. Any thoughts on drugs in the spiritual world, psilocybin, DMT, ayahuasca, etc.? Yes, I do have thoughts. All right. No, I'm going to actually elaborate on that. I do have thoughts, and I will say, you and I, we can, if you want to ask me all these questions, we can do it one-on-one. But from this Facebook Live, all I'm going to say is that they can be helpful, but they also can be a crutch. And then they also can be used improperly, and that can be very damaging. I believe plant medicine can be very helpful, but I believe that in using something so powerful as plant medicine is very important to be in the highest integrity and work with a facilitator who's also of the highest integrity to work with that. I don't believe in man-made drugs. I feel like that's I don't really trust things that like men have messed with to turn it into something else. But if it's the natural plant medicine, I do believe that there's a reason and that it can be helpful, but it has to be done in the right way with the right intentions, etc. So those are my thoughts. I have more thoughts, but I'm not going to share them on this Facebook Live. right now.
So you said in Austin, Texas, is it like big for like the psychic world too?
Yeah, there's a really big spiritual community. It might even be, in my opinion, a little saturated. There's a lot of healers. There's a lot of people who are exploring how to be healers in certain respects. There's a ton of coaches. There's a ton of uh, spiritual. There's even spiritual networking events. There's Facebook groups
So
that hear about that.
when you look back at it, when you was thinking about moving, because when you moved, it wasn't for that, and now
I
do
didn't
you
know
think?
about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you think it was the psychic ability unconsciously pushing you to Austin to unlock it?
Yeah, I 100% believe that my soul was pulling me into Austin so that all of this could happen, right? So that I could meet Chad, so that my psychic gifts could open up, so I could have my meltdown that led to my psychic gifts opening up, and to connect with the mentors that I needed to help me, grow in whatever way that I was supposed to. So I do think that somewhere in my soul, it was like, you got to go to Austin. And then on top of that, the timing that I chose to go to Austin, it was not of my own doing. Like, I was trying to wait for a job to like open up to hire me, and that didn't happen. And I was living in New York City, and when you live in New York City, it's hard to live there by yourself. It's so expensive. So my roommate, she was trying to make sure she had another roommate like set up. And she did. And she was just like, Victoria, you got to leave. I have another roommate to take over your room. You got to leave. And I was just like, oh my God. So I just got to just go to Austin with no job and just try to figure things out. But the universe kind of was just like, this is how things have to be. So Marianne said, everywhere else isn't like this. I honestly don't know, but I have a friend who moved from Austin to Indiana, and she said that it's not like this. Like, the spiritual space in Austin, there's a lot of it is saturated. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Marissa said maybe Portland. I know like Sedona is also known for being like that. But I don't know. I don't know. I've never lived anywhere aside from Austin. I've never lived anywhere outside of New York, so I can't answer that. Anybody else have any questions? Because this actually went on a lot longer than I thought, and I know that you have to go to work or you have to pick up your son, something like that.
Yeah, I gotta get ready to go actually to the gym by 5:30. But this was to me very informative. I know I got a lot out of it, and I appreciate everyone that's out there that came through on my end and her end to ask questions, and hopefully I enjoyed it. It was good getting to know you even a little better.
Yeah,
So
thanks.
I can scuba. She's not as weird as we thought.
Actually, I am weirder than you guys thought. You just don't know it. But yes, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you have any other comments or questions, feel free to drop them in. If you have any other ideas for any videos or anything that you want us to do, please comment. Any ideas or any topics that you want us to do. Yes, I embrace the weirdo. Unfortunately for Chad, he gets to see a lot of the weirdness. I like to be very silly, and he gets the brunt of it. But thank you guys. Thank you for the questions. Those are really awesome questions. And also, let's see, your friend Poppy Americano, right? You have asked some really good questions. So if you want to go like in depth with any of these things that you want to be elaborated more, like if anybody else wants those questions elaborated more, we can do a separate video on that. Just comment any ideas or suggestions you guys have. But thanks for joining us, and I also hope everyone appreciated the mini readings that occurred as well.
Yep, and like I said, I got Don't Get Tricked podcast. You can follow us on our Facebook page and like, subscribe, and share. And like I said, me and Vicki would do this a lot more. And I'm not gonna give y'all no readings because I'll be wrong. I'd be like, hey, your tire need to be changed tomorrow. It's bald. But it was great, Vicki, and I appreciate you having me on and getting my reaction.
Well, I appreciate you having me on your YouTube and on your page as well. And all the questions you've asked have been really interesting, entertainment, and really good thought-provoking questions. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
Oh, Marissa's asking for your YouTube channel. So if you can share that in the comments and on my page as well.
Yep, I'll share it. And like I said, it's Don't Get Tricked podcast. I share it on Vicky's page, on the YouTube page. And Vicky comes on as a host of ours too. So tune in, and we like to get as much information and our opinions and our experiences on life out on her platform and ours.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see ya.